Hello adventurers, Banana Breakdown here. Today we're going to explain a topic that's crucial for every D&D player and dungeon master: initiative. It doesn't matter how much experience you have, understanding initiative is key to mastering combat and keeping your game sessions exciting. But here's the thing. Dungeons & Dragons has recently rolled out some changes with the new One D&D version, and initiative isn't quite what it used to be. So in this video, I'm covering both 5th edition and the updated One D&D rules for initiative. I'll go through what's different, what's the same, and how you can use these mechanics to your advantage in your games. Stick around to learn the ins and outs of both systems, pick up some strategic tips, and maybe even impress your party with your new knowledge. Ready to get started? Let's roll for initiative. Let's start with the classic 5th edition rules. In this version, initiative is determined by a roll of a d20 plus your dexterity modifier. So every time combat begins, each player rolls a d20, adds their dexterity modifier, and the dungeon master does the same for all the enemies. The results decide who goes first, second, third, and so on. Easy enough, right? But here's where it gets interesting: ties. If two characters roll the same number, the character with the higher dexterity score goes first. If those are the same, you can either decide between yourselves or roll again to see who moves up in the order. And then, there's the surprise round. If one group sneaks up on another, the surprised side can't act during their first turn, giving the other side a free go. This can turn the tide before combat even begins, which is why sneaking and scouting can make a big difference. Now let's talk about the changes coming with One D&D. The fundamentals are still the same, but with a few tweaks. Instead of calling it an initiative roll, it's now a dexterity check. Same idea. You roll a d20 and add your dexterity modifier, but expect to see more options for how you might modify this roll in the future. There's also a new group initiative option, where all the enemies, or all the players, roll as a group. This can speed things up, especially in larger battles, so everyone isn't just sitting around waiting for their turn. And keep an eye out for new abilities, feats, or class features that might let you use a different ability score for initiative, or give other benefits when you roll for it. This change is all about adding flexibility and making the game a bit more dynamic. One D&D also emphasises reactions and prepared actions, giving you more opportunities to act outside your turn. This makes initiative a bit less rigid and can make combat feel more fluid. So, those are the basics of both versions. Next, we'll get into some strategic tips to help you make the most of your turn, no matter which version you're playing. Now that we've got the basics down, let's talk strategy. Whether you're sticking with 5th edition or going to be trying out One D&D, there are a few tricks to help you make the most of your initiative. For 5th edition, if you're playing 5th edition, one of the best things you can do as a player is boost your initiative score. High dexterity is a great start, but there are other ways to improve your chances. Take the alert feat, for example. It gives you a +5 bonus to your initiative, which is massive. Also, consider spells like Bless that add a d4 to your roll, or the advantage granted by the Foresight spell. Think about your role in the party too. Are you a frontline fighter who needs to get in fast and draw enemy fire? Or are you a spellcaster who can control the battlefield from a distance? Knowing your role can help you decide if going first is worth it, or if you'd rather hang back. For Dungeon Masters, it's all about managing turn order to keep things flowing. Use an initiative tracker, digital or physical, to keep track of who's up next. Consider grouping similar monsters to act together. It keeps things simple and speeds up combat. And if you've got a lot of players or enemies on the board, try giving some monsters a flat initiative number to save time. And a quick note. Avoid letting initiative bog things down. The goal is to keep the story moving and the players engaged. Feel free to nudge things along or adjust on the fly if it makes for a more exciting game. For One D&D. In One D&D, initiative gets a bit of a twist. start thinking about other abilities or scores that might affect your Dexterity Check. Some class features or feats may let you use a different ability score instead, so don't just assume Dexterity is your only option. Remember the group initiative variant we talked about. As a player, you might want to coordinate with your party to take advantage of this. Work together to stack actions for maximum impact, like having the tank charge in just as the wizard casts a spell to debuff the enemies. For DMs, take advantage of the flexibility with reactions and prepared actions in One D&D. Encourage players to think creatively about how they use their turns and when to prepare actions. This makes the combat feel less like a turn-based video game and more like a dynamic, fast-paced encounter. Lastly, keep an eye on how these changes affect the flow of your game. Don't be afraid to experiment with new ways to use initiative, whether that's trying out the group initiative variant or mixing up when you ask players to roll. So, whether you're playing 5th edition or testing out the new One D&D rules, these tips should help you use initiative to your advantage. So, there you have it. Whether you're going to be trying One D&D or staying with 5e, understanding and using initiative effectively can make all the difference in your games. Remember, in 5th edition, it's all about getting that high dexterity score or finding ways to boost your initiative. For One D&D, be ready to experiment with new options and embrace the changes in how you approach turn order and combat. Now, it's your turn. Take these tips, bring them to your table and see how they can change the way you play. And hey, if you've got your own initiative tricks, or if you've tried out the new rules, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit that like button if you found this video helpful, and subscribe for more D&D tips and tricks. Thanks for watching. Banana Breakdown, out.